Hi everyone, it's Marla at Twinstrology. Welcome back. This is the Gemini New Moon Energy Report for Lightworkers, Starseeds, and Twin Flames. So before I go into the Gemini New Moon, I want to just backtrack a bit and remind everyone what we were going through at the Sagittarius Full Moon 2 weeks ago. Okay, and that full moon, or the energy a little bit before that full moon, opened up a stargate, and this stargate is increasing our perceptions and it's removing a lot of limiting beliefs. So we've had these third eye expansions, and with that we're seeing the bigger picture. We've been seeing and removing the old programs that have created limiting beliefs within us, and coming to understand that yes, we may need labels and beliefs to communicate and categorize things, but realizing at the same time that those labels are also structures of the human mind and the ego, and they're not part of our eternal selves. This energy of this stargate, I feel, is going to be with us for the next 6 months. There's going to be a new moon on December 6th or 7th, depending on where you are, at 15 degrees of Sagittarius, and that new moon is going to be coinciding with Mercury going direct after a retrograde period in the sign of Sagittarius and Scorpio. So I feel that's going to be when we're really more complete within this understanding that we're developing right now of the power of our mind, and using our mind in order to expand our ability to create rather than limiting our ability to create our reality. And I've got this quote up to kind of start us off here. The greatest discovery of our generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. As you think, so shall you be. That quote is attributed to William James. I found it on the internet, so I can't guarantee that that's the right person, but that's who's credited with that quote. And I feel this quote is perfect to kind of kick us off into the energy of this Gemini new moon. As I spoke about with the Sag full moon energy, when the sun was in Gemini, the moon was in its opposite sign, Sagittarius. And I spoke about how Gemini is where we gather knowledge, where we see both sides of everything. We don't necessarily make judgments on things from Gemini. This is just where we accumulate our knowledge. And then in Sagittarius is where we use discernment on what we gather, and then those become our beliefs. So with this new moon in Gemini, we've let go, or we've at least seen a lot of the programs that we were running that were limiting us in how we're able to create our reality. And now this new moon is going to assist us further by understanding how our thoughts are contributing to our reality, and how can we align that with our truth and what is going on with the people around us. Here we have the glass of water, and is that glass of water half full or half empty? Well, in Gemini, we can see both. We can say, oh yeah, it's half full and it's half empty. I can see both perspectives. And I feel like that's a good way to segue into this Gemini energy. We can see both ways. There's no limitation on how we're viewing it, how we're perceiving things. So the new moon is happening at 2244 Gemini, and I I love the numbers there, 2244, balance and stability. And it's on the Sabian symbol, 3 fledglings high up in a tree. So it's talking about a new beginning. We have these 3 little birds, and I feel that kind of represents us. We're in a way being reborn through the ascension process. And the fact that they're high up in a tree is confirmation that we're getting a higher perspective now. We're seeing things from high up rather than from the limited perspective that we have down on the ground. So this new moon, as I said, is about widening our perspectives and breaking free from previous limitations that we've held. And reaffirming, because I know many of you already know this, but our thoughts are creating our reality. And as we switch from this karmic system to the system of being creators of our reality, we have to recognize that we're all going to have different realities, because that's just part and parcel of moving into this system of being the creator and manifesting the things that we want in our reality. And I've spoken before about this, and there were a lot of people that said, well, the truth is the truth, isn't it? I mean, certain things are truth, and that's not relying on our perception of what is. It's just automatically truth. And what I'm being shown is that in the 3D system, that may be true, as in the 3D, we're stuck in this duality consciousness where everything is black or white, right or wrong. But as we expand our consciousness, this is not necessarily true. I was watching a talk given by my dear friend Debbie Dubois at True Sacred Union last night. And she said something that I want to mention. She said that as we move through the dimensions, what is true in this dimension may not be true in other dimensions. And she talked about degradation or death as being an example of a truth in the 3D reality, right? Everything dies here. Everything goes through degradation. Everything decays. But is that true in other dimensions? No, in other dimensions, there is no death, there is no degradation. So we can look at some other examples of this as well, of what is true for one, which may not be true for others. Something that I was shown was people that believe the earth is flat. Now, most people believe that the earth is round and that it's been scientifically proven that the earth is round. And so, wouldn't that be truth? But yet there's other people that believe that the earth is flat and they reject the truth that the earth is round. And so for them, the fact that the earth is flat becomes their reality and they reject the other version. We could also look at something like the Apollo moon landing. And many people would say, well, man landed on the moon. We have documentation of it. We have photographs of it. Isn't that truth? Yet other people would say that the moon landing was a fake and that it was a setup and that the pictures that we saw were made, and they give us examples of how it's fake. And we can find lots of conspiracy theories like this that take something that most believe has truth, yet many other people reject that truth. And so that truth is not true for them. It's all about our perception. Another thing is when we look at people that we label as mentally ill, And many of those people create their own reality. Now, to us or to others who say, well, that's not reality, you're mentally ill. But to that person, whether or not that's our truth, that is not their truth. Because to them, their reality is very, very real. So, as we go up in the ascension process, we have to break free of some of these mental limitations that we have surrounding our beliefs and our perceptions. And one of the key things here that I feel with the new moon in Gemini is that we have to learn to get along with each other, even though we have these different perceptions, different truths, different realities. As this quote says, your perception may not be my reality. So, one of the things that we're needing to look at right now is our need to be right. Because as creators, we need to stay in our truth. We have to remain true to our vision in order to manifest it. Okay, and as I've said, my truth may not be your truth. And so someone may come to me and they might say, your truth is wrong. And I'll argue back. And we're both going to have this need to be right because we're so attached to our truths and our belief systems. And then there's going to be an argument. And when this happens, this can lower your vibration. It can make you question, maybe I'm wrong. And then you'll start having doubts about what it is your truth is. Sorry, I just want to make sure that I'm saying this clearly. So what I want to clarify here is that if you're trying to manifest something that you want to have in your reality, and you have people coming to you that are saying, that's impossible, you need to be secure enough in yourself to reject their perception, at the same time letting go of the need to defend yourself and to argue about your need to be right. Because when we start arguing about who is right, that's going to lower our vibration. And I'm sure we've all come across that quote about, I've stopped explaining myself because people can only understand from their level of perception or their level of belief. So when we come up against people that have different truths than us, they're where they're at, we're at where we're at, but we have to learn to get along. So this is why we're also being pushed right now to break free from those things that want to restrain us from our ability to be honest and authentic and stand in our own knowing, even against naysayers or those that want to bring us down. And I'm saying that kind of harshly, but again, we have to begin to make this connection that we're all on our own journey, we're all at our own level, and stop looking at it from that sense of, I need to be right. I need to prove the point that my beliefs are better than yours or truer than yours. Because this is where all conflict is ultimately coming from. And we can look at many, many ways that we're viewing this conflict, right? We have these opposite viewpoints. I'm Democrat, I'm Republican. I don't even want to go into it, but you guys get the idea. You know what I'm talking about. This is duality consciousness. And at this point in our ascension process, we're moving away from duality conscious. We're seeing that we are all one. And we're learning to accept each other for who we are. So when I say that we're needing to accept ourselves for our authenticity and where we're at, in order to accept ourselves, we have to accept our brothers and sisters. And we have to accept that they need to be their authentic selves. And it may not agree with who we are, but that doesn't have to affect us and how we see ourselves. We can just accept that that's their journey. And hey, more power to them. And it may sound like, for some of you, you might be thinking, well, wouldn't that create chaos? And we're all creating different realities. And isn't that going to just negate everybody else's realities and we'll get nowhere? But the truth is, we're all one. We're all one. And so ultimately, we're going to create that one cohesive reality, all from our different perspectives. And this is something our logical mind cannot understand right now. But this is what will occur. It's not going to be the chaos that we're thinking, because we're loving and we're accepting each other, and we're starting to create not from our logical mind, but from our heart center. So we're removing a lot of limitations through doing this, as I'm sure many of you can understand now. And ultimately, we're healing communication because we're respecting people's own truths and perceptions and opinions and their own journey. And this will allow us to be able to connect with people even though they're different from us. And we have Jupiter trining Neptune. This has been a long-term transit. And this is all about our dream. What is our dream that we want to create for our reality? And when these two planets come together, we can dream the impossible dream and make it our reality. Another thing that Debbie talked about last night that I want to just mention here, because I feel it's very much in this energy, is she talked about going from one thing to another, and how many of us right now, we're picking up a little bit of information from here, from there, and you might be starting something and not able to finish it because all of a sudden you're going on to something else. And this is part of the energetic process that we're in as far as creating things. And this is very much this Gemini energy, because Gemini is the collector of knowledge. And often when we go in and we explore something, we don't fully understand that, but we get led on a different path through what we're learning. And from there, on and on. And that's okay. It's giving us the different facets that we need. We don't all need the same information. We don't all need to learn everything about everything. And there's so much that we never can know everything about everything. Every light worker here on the planet has their own thing that they're bringing. They have their own knowledge and wisdom, and you will get what it is that you need to do your job and your mission. And it may not be what someone else needs. I often have people contacting me and they're like, Marla, do you know about this? And you should know about that. And a lot of times I don't know. I can't know everything, and it's not my job to know everything. And we have to surrender to the fact that we get what we need to know when we need it. And sometimes having too much information or having too much of the wrong information might impede us on our mission because, it might change our perception of what the truth is. And maybe for that facet of the mission that we're doing right now, we need to understand things from the level that we're at. I hope that makes sense. So that's why, like, we have to just accept where we're at and accept our level of knowledge. Sometimes we might look up to people and say, I wish I had their level of knowledge. I wish I knew about that. But that might not be the direction that your soul wants you to go. And if you try to go in that direction, it may actually hinder your progress. And so we all are just surrendering to where we need to be at this time and trusting that we're exactly where we need to be. So going on with our new moon chart here, okay? The ruler of the new moon, Mercury, is just moving into Cancer at the time of the new moon and making an opposition with Saturn. So Mercury are our thoughts, our beliefs, how we communicate them. We all know that. And Mercury being in the sign of Cancer is really important here. And Cancer, and I'm a Cancer sun myself, Cancer is often not given the credit that it's due. It's a very important sign. And like all the water signs, it deals with our subconscious mind. It's not just home and family, this little box that people want to put it in. It's ruled by the moon. And so it deals a lot with our subconscious, and it deals with our subconscious patterns. The moon is our emotional self as well. So it deals with how we react emotionally to triggers. And it has to do with our past lives and our earlier life and how we've set up these patterns. Like, we've developed patterns when we react emotionally from a gut level to things that, hurt us or don't agree with us. We build up ways to protect ourselves emotionally. So with Mercury here, we're seeing some of those emotional patterns that come from the triggers. This has to do with our programming, and it has a lot to do with our projections. And I found this quote: projections makes perception. We look inside first, decide what kind of the world we want to see, and then project that world outside, making it the truth as we see it. This one's from the Course in Miracles. And so with Mercury here, we're having to look at our projections through our emotional triggering. And so for some of you, you may have been dealing with a lot of triggers lately, or coming into this new moon, there might be triggers for you to show you the kind of things that you're projecting. And we have to continue to be vigilant in looking at our triggers to see what it's showing us about ourselves. Because this is going to dictate how we're viewing the world from inside of us. Do we feel fearful? Do we feel like the world is out to get us? Do we feel like we have to hide behind that Cancerian shell to protect ourselves? Because if so, that's what we're projecting, and that is what other people are going to show to us. So we're needing to look so that we can correct some of these projections and perceptions, so that what we're projecting out is what we want to be projected back to us, thus creating our reality. Now, Mercury is opposite Saturn here, as I said. And Saturn is representing authority figures and those things that we've been taught and how those things play into our triggers, our emotional reactions, and our projections. And then Chiron is making a square to both of them. So it's making a T square. And Chiron is adding the element of our past lives and how our past lives have played a role here and activating our multidimensionality so that we can heal some of these patterns that we've developed. We don't want to keep reacting from our gut emotional instinct. We want to be able to see how that's affecting our ability to create reality. Saturn, of course, represents our karma as well. So that's another element of the karmic patterns that are being released. And Saturn helps us ground things in reality. So that's another element here is Saturn opposing Mercury is helping us to ground these new ideas and perceptions. And it's also helping us learn that wisdom comes from within us. That's part of the ascension process. We stop searching so much outside of ourselves and we begin to get comfortable with our inner truth. And we're continuing to do a lot of karmic clearing. We have been doing much karmic clearing, and as I said, we're continuing that. There's been a lot of DNA upgrades going on and a lot of clearing from our DNA. Some of you have been experiencing a lot of ascension symptoms. Those should be kind of fading off, but you want to make sure that you're getting rest, because of the new energies that we're grounding. Another thing that we have going on as far as the karmic releasing is we have the North Node making a trine still with the asteroid Karma and with Chiron, and then forming a kite with the South Node. So this is also clearing a lot of our past life and multidimensional karmic patterns. And this is assisting us in shifting towards our heart and moving away from the logical mind and moving more into our heart. That's what we've been learning with the North Node traveling through Leo. And we can see that Venus is at the tail end of Cancer at the new moon and moving in to a conjunction with the North Node, and then she'll be part of that kite as well. And that is helping us go further into our heart as well. Venus at the time of the new moon is squaring Uranus and making a trine with Chiron. And so this aspect is really just wanting our hearts to be free and helping us break down the barriers that have been keeping our heart and our love imprisoned. So many of you might be experiencing heart expansion, and that is related to the reawakening of the divine masculine energies, because we're going through another round, let's say, of heart awakening energy. And this is empowering our creative abilities more. And everything is divinely timed. So like the reawaken of the divine masculine is happening now because we're more ready to become more manifestors. That's not the right way to say it, but this is just coming to me now. So it's like we needed to release a lot of stuff. We want to make sure that we're in the right mindset and we've released enough limitations to where we're manifesting things. So those things are working in alignment. But there's going to be lots of shifts happening around love relationships or finances or just your own heart awakening and your creative abilities. I'm being shown that that aspect of Venus square Uranus and trining Chiron is really supporting our manifestation abilities. And so many of you might be seeing things manifest for you or getting small tidbits of knowing that the things that you're desiring are beginning to come to you. But some of it could be coming to you through change. Because remember, we create our reality, but we can't control how our reality comes to us. We have to surrender to the universal plan. And that's not always in alignment with how we think things should be. So just kind of watch your thoughts and try to stay heart-centered through all of that. And I'm also feeling that illusions could be revealed over the next 2 weeks. So your perceptions about things could be changing, how you view things, or you might be seeing that you had thought that things were playing out one way and they're really going another way. Or something that you didn't expect is going to happen. But this is helping us move more into divine partnerships. And I've expanded the audience for my astrology reports. I used to do them strictly for twin flames, but I've been expanding it to light workers and starseeds because everybody that's in the ascension process is moving towards a sacred relationship of some sort. Because we're no longer functioning within the 3D karmic cycle. And so when we're not doing that, that's when the divine relationships come. And what I mean by that is we're moving away from creating relationships based on fear, codependency, and seeking validation from the other person. And we're moving into relationships that are based on two people being whole and acting from their wholeness and creating something consciously rather than just letting those old fears kind of control the situation. It has to do with creating our own reality, right? So we have this T-square with the North and South Node and Uranus. That's going to be, a longer term transit, at least for another month or two. And that is helping us move more into our truth and authenticity. And it's also being affected by Chiron as well. Chiron is trining the North Node. And Chiron and Uranus have been semi-sextile for a while. Their energies are working together to bring the shift. But for divine partnerships, we also have this nice mystic rectangle forming. The North Node opposite the South Node, of course, and asteroid union opposite Karma. And we can see that the North Node is sextile union, the South Node sextile Karma, and that's creating the rectangle. So this energy is flowing very smoothly, helping us release our old karmic patterns so that we can clear the way for union with our divine partners at this time. And of course, the more that we clear from our projections and the more we can accept that everyone has their own journey, and the more that we're healing this communication aspect, that is supporting divine partnerships so much. And I feel that for many divine partnerships, there's going to be communication with your partner coming up. I think there were some Sabian symbols. Saturn is on the Sabian symbol. A veiled prophet speaks, seized by the power of God. And so I feel like that Sabian could be pointing to the fact that there might be communication for people. But also just watch all communication, because people might be speaking to you and they might be saying things that bring you some kind of clarity without even realizing it. But some of the key words for that Sabian are messages erupting, speaking, announcing, having insights that transport to other levels, channeling, and mediumship. And remember, it's opposing Mercury. And at the time of the new moon, Mercury is on the Sabian symbol. An Arctic explorer leads a reindeer through icy caverns. So it's telling us that we're going to be traveling into some area where it may be unfamiliar to us. But that, I feel like it's also representing that our higher self is helping us move through that icy cavern. And just that Sabian symbol is reminding me of the Eight of Cups card, especially in this one deck I have, where this man is moving through this icy wasteland, which is a sign for us that we need to move away from something that has held us captive, something that has limited us. We're moving on from that. Uranus is on the Sabian symbol. An electrical storm illuminates the heavens and the forests. So when I talked about things being illuminated, sudden changes, sudden realizations, with Uranus, the planet that rules electricity and change and upheaval, there could be like some major revelation that we're having, especially with him in aspect to Venus. The North Node is on a nice Sabian symbol, the wonders of the constellation of stars in the night sky, reminding us of the bigger picture here, and just reminding us of the universe and the enormity of the universe and having no limitations. When we look up in the sky, it's never ending. Again, that's something that's hard for our mind to fathom. The South Node is on the Sabian symbol, a child born out of an eggshell, and that has to do with rebirth and transmutation. Struggling to break free. And my Sabian symbols I use from the book 360 Degrees of Wisdom by Linda Hill. I just want to give her credit. For those of you that don't know what the Sabian symbols are, they are messages that were channeled by a psychic named Elsie Wheeler in conjunction with an astrologer named, I believe, Mark Edmund Jones. No. Yes. I may have that slightly wrong. But she channeled a message for each degree of the zodiac. Those are what I read, and we use them as an oracle, or they give us a little bit more definition for each degree of the zodiac, and they tend to be very, very accurate. So the last thing that I want to mention as we go along in the next 2 weeks is on June 18th, we have Neptune going retrograde until November 24th. And he's going from 16 degrees Pisces to 13 degrees Pisces. And when he makes this shift to go retrograde, watch out, guys, for being really tired. I feel like that will be a symptom. Of course, Neptune rules sleep. So if you're needing to sleep, make sure you get rest. And I also feel that his retrograde period is going to help us remove the blocks that we still have towards opening our hearts and breaking down those barriers. Remember, Neptune dissolves boundaries. So he's helping us during the retrograde period too with this process that we're going through, because he dissolves boundaries between us and another so that we can see other people's perspective. And it's in Neptune and Pisces. And remember, Neptune is in Pisces. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, where we can recognize that we're all one and we're all part of the same consciousness experiencing itself through different vehicles, through different perceptions. And it's going to be in 6 months when Neptune goes direct, around the time that I've talked about that Sagittarius new moon up at the beginning, and where I feel we'll be really more complete in making this mental shift that we're going through. But when Neptune's retrograde, I feel that we'll be getting a lot stronger internal guidance that's working in conjunction with our third eye expansion. And we'll be getting a lot of messages and dreams as well, especially when he stations. Remember, I said you might be feeling tired and you may need to sleep because you'll be getting a lot of internal guidance through your dreams, or you'll be receiving downloads, or you'll need to do some kind of integration. And a lot of our integration happens through sleep, and that's why we get so tired. And ultimately, Neptune here is helping us tune more into our own soul and following our soul's direction. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that this reading resonated with you. If you would like a personal reading with me, I do both astrology readings and tarot readings. You can find me at Twinstrology.com or marlakelly.com. And this energy report is taking us into the summer solstice, if you can believe it. After the new moon, the summer solstice is only 8 days away. So that will be the next energy report that I'll be talking about. So make sure you get rest during this period. Make sure you do some manifesting with this new moon, simply writing down those things that you want to create. Watch your thoughts, and I will speak to you soon.